Greetings, friends! Today is the so-called Partition of Atlantis. I'm gonna do rose gold primarily, and then we'll see if we'll do smaller little gold touching streaks to those veins of ore to kind of symbolize an oxidization dynamic thing. But today will be very relaxed. As usual, nothing loud or crazy. This palette's nuts. I would probably do this side. Super nice rose gold color I was able to find. Just to say again, the gold is not, the yellow gold is not guaranteed. Rose gold is what we'll do today, and then if I think it looks good, we'll add some of those gold accents near some of these. But just the rose gold is for certain. Everything else will be determined as we go. I think I'm going to preemptively turn the music down just a little bit. I don't want to blast anybody's ears out to the best of my estimation. welcome, welcome. Oh no, I don't do Beglery on stream. Just videos for that. Especially with all the practice during the day, I like to take a break here and there. My hands get awful tired, that's for sure. Thursday was alright though. Oh yeah, same thing. I tend to practice those things during the day and then do painting and stuff at night. Although maybe some videos of pen spinning and cardistry soon though. I already have a cardistry one filmed out and ready to go. Realized it helps me improve a lot more if I space out my practice of each thing like that. Kind of do morning one thing and then evening and night another. I try to switch up stuff as much as possible like that to keep it fresh and make sure nothing gets too boring or overwhelming. getting some more paint here. Hey, welcome in. Hope you had a good Thursday. I'll be able to sit down for this last part. I'm thinking as we go through this more and more that I'll stick only with rose gold for now. Because I kind of find myself realizing that yellow gold might kind of draw the eye a little too hard. Kind of want to keep it similar to theme too. Like my other set in the series. Fix that camera a little bit. A little more. Yeah, I think that's how this one's going to be. Just a nice blue and rose gold type form here. I think I'll turn it down just a little bit more. about now? We're halfway? Maybe just under halfway through. And remember, friends, this is all very straightforward and not too thought intensive. Remember just to shine the light above your general rock painting so that you'll get nice dark shadows, and then just paint your veins into those darkest shadow areas. Nothing super crazy. I know you all can do it too. I definitely don't want to act like this is some difficult thing, because it really isn't. And I don't want to discourage anybody. I want everyone to truly follow what they're interested in. I feel like it could be kind of easy to think of yourself as not able to do something, or feel like you're not going to do it right, but the nature of these paintings is so unique every single time that as long as you just do what I said, paint in those darkest shadows, that you'll get just a plenty fine result. And your rock painting will be just as unique as all the ones I've done, and every single painting will be different from one another. This truly is one of the few styles of painting that I feel like is as intuitively random as you can possibly get, while still sticking to a theme, I guess, if that makes sense. Very straightforward. Oh hey, Lexi! Good to see you! How have you been, Alex, doing? Today we're working on Partition of Atlantis. Another big old rock painting that has this blue color and rose gold in it. Hope your guys' Thursday was as good as it could possibly be. Hey, that's good to hear. Yeah, I've been doing good too. Just kind of taking it easy, getting things started and finished, and started and finished, and just kind of taking it easy. Oh, thanks. Appreciate the birthday wishes. I had a nice day. It was a nice, relaxing day. I was able to just kind of take it easy and do exactly what I wanted to do. It fell on a weekend too, which was always nice luck to have. To be honest, I probably ate way too much steak for dinner. I was laying in bed all bloated and out of commission for a little bit. In a good way, though. It's not very often I get to have something as delicious as foods like that I enjoy that much. Yeah, food coma is a perfect way to describe it. I had stuff I wanted to do and everything, but I just thought to myself, you know, I'm just gonna relax and study a bit or read some of my reference books. Because, man, I ate way too much food. Steak vacuum cleaner. Hey, thanks. Yeah, it was nice. I'm glad all the things kind of lined up nice and well, and I was able to hang out with my family for dinner, and kind of took a nice easy day. What have you guys been up to? Just working and stuff? Hanging out? Yeah, no worries. Glad to see you. Have a great night as well. A small water break. Never drink enough water, that's for sure. Bunch of hairs in my eye. Seems like we're about halfway now. Getting there. Pretty much just gonna go into all these heavy shadow areas that stand out to me are painted on. There's one. Partially why I bounce around the painting too. Just to kind of have a mental refresh of a certain area after not looking at it for a while, or any kind of thing like that. I find it kind of cool how the veins up here are a little more short and spread out like the, essentially like particles, but down here we're connecting a lot more of them. A lot of these cracks are connecting more than they do up there, which is a cool dynamic this turned out to be. Yeah, much bigger veins, especially down here and over on this part. Even though we've moved through, you know, maybe half of this canvas, it might take another 2/3 amount of time to get this all filled in as necessary, which is a-okay. Just gotta make sure all these deep shadow areas are covered. Some more paint here. Some of these veins we might go over a few times, but only the ones where it makes decent sense. It's another thing you can just kind of intuitively go on is the deeper the shadow, the more pigment, I guess, you should have concentrated. It's like you can have some light coverings on your lighter ones, but then really pack on the paint in your darker ones. honestly wonder if I have... I'll have to check after stream, of course, but... I wonder if I have rose gold similar acrylic ink that I could splatter on here just a little bit too, outside. Might kind of complement these darker blue speckles that I splattered on about a week ago, maybe? Just to give it some, like, graininess. But if I had some shiny ink that matched this, that might be the way to go. Because I was thinking, like I said at the beginning, to do some yellow gold, but I feel like it'd just be so distracting. Even if I did, like, little bits across all these major veins. But man, I'm bouncing back and forth a lot. I gotta say, I'm still deciding if I want to commit to another type of metal or if I want to stick to just this. Really tough decision. Because in all fairness, it could be very cool if I used a toothpick or something very small just to add teeny little accent marks to the bigger veins, I guess. Dang, yeah, that's really tough. Yeah, maybe it'll be a nice balance if I just stick to the main sort of like moderate to long veins and keep the small speckles untouched. Man, that's a really tough call because I don't have guidelines per se to this series. Like, I don't stick to certain rules or things having to look a certain way, but after all, I just kind of want it to not be too crazy. Hey, there's John. Hey, there he is. How's it going, brother? Hey, that's cool. I'm glad you had a good day today. And tomorrow is Friday indeed. Got another weekend ahead of us. Nice weather. Still glad we were all chilling over at your place having those cigars last weekend. Super nice time. My day has been pretty decent, I gotta say. Just getting more things started, finished, working school stuff. All kinds of good stuff. School's been picking up, but not in any way where I've been too busy, but just busy enough. Trying to get A's in all my classes, so it requires decent amount of work, but nothing too crazy. It's been nice. Oh, yes, you did. Yeah, and I just recently got it saved to my computer, and I have a pretty solid plan for it, I think. I think it's going to turn out to be a cool, super cool painting. I think I'm going to do a canvas just a little bit smaller than one of these. So it'll be 18 by 24, I think? 18... It's either 18 by 24 or 20 by 26. It's just a teeny bit smaller than this, but I think that'll fit just as nice. Might even be able to do some of that on stream, to be honest. I'm excited too. If it turns out good, and if you like it, by all means, that'll be yours. By all means. I'm gonna be starting my huge Roman Colosseum wall chunk painting eventually too. But man, I don't even know how I'll be able to stream that. That's a 50 by 40? Like, yeah, I have no idea. It's gonna be heavy as shit too. But yeah, I mean, if I had streamed your painting, that would be definitely something I'll let you know ahead of time. Like, a handful of days ahead of time before I schedule that stream. Because, yeah, I mean, even if we do... Hey, welcome, Brenton! But yeah, if we do the sky on its own, or the sky and the grass, however it pans out, I'll try to get as many progress photos and maybe some streams out of it as possible, so I can give you a bunch of stuff to go with it. It's almost like fate, how you got a picture so nicely configured towards that idea set that I have. Like, it's so perfectly captured to where, just like the farmhouse painting I did, it'd be such a perfect... truly such a perfect coincidence. Everything really did line up so nicely. It's like perfectly framed. The colors aren't crazy and like almost impossible to recreate like some photos can be. Like everything is so nicely set up for something to turn out nice with that. But tonight we are working on Partition of Atlantis, which is this blue sort of slab here. About I feel like it's 5 or 6 days ago, I took it outside and splattered a bunch of just a little bit of darker blue acrylic ink on here. Oh, it was indigo. So I did some indigo on here and then painted over some of the indigo to fade it in at various levels to kind of give the rock depth of grain. And then today we are painting the rose gold veins first. And then I'm going to go back and on the larger veins that are more prominent, I'm going to take a toothpick and put just a little bit of yellow gold accents touching those veins to kind of give a look of oxidization. Or maybe something to do where this being underwater, it changed the gold to take on some of the blue and turn it into rose gold. I was bouncing back and forth on it a lot at the beginning of stream. I was like, do I want to do gold on here? Do I not? But I realized that I feel like it'd be a really cool idea just to stick to the bigger sections here and then leave more of the sparse sprinkles of rose gold alone, so that it's kind of following a rule of concentration thing that I read about too. But right now we're just kind of getting all the big dark shadows painted, because that'll be where the rose gold sits, and then I'll bust out a toothpick and go over just like maybe the closest to the shadow parts and just kind of throw in some of that good old... I have a really nice iridescent gold fine deep grain paint here that I like to use for gold marks. But yeah, I think a toothpick would be a good size, because as I was thinking about it, I didn't want the gold to be super prominent, but I also wanted there to be some sort of dynamic of this being underwater and things interacting in a way to keep it sort of in a sense where the yellow gold is being turned into rose gold because of the combination of whatever mineral this is and water and any sort of other influence that it might have had, being from the name Partition of Atlantis and just like dynamics of stuff like that. I'm pretty much just going everywhere that has the deepest shadows that stick out. So nothing crazy to the point, because truly all of this has so many speckles and stuff like that where I could really go crazy, but I think sticking to the shadows cast by this overhead light is a solid start. It's kind of like that's influenced by some of the things I read in that Stephen Wolfram's Fundamental Theory of Physics and his book A New Kind of Science, where he kind of explains how interactions and the earth work and nature and stuff like that. So that kind of inspired me to want to make at least one rock slab where it would appear as if it was submerged underwater for a very long time. just yesterday I had a accident with my black painting, and I thought I broke it because when I walked into my room, I knocked it over and it fell straight on its face. And I thought to myself, oh, that thing's gonna separate and come apart, but 0 damage. And I was like, oh, that's nice. It really goes to show how solid these paintings are if one was able to take a fall that hard. Like, it fell from being stood upright and just straight onto its face. And no damage, no cracking. Nothing came separated from the canvas. That was a really nice turn of events, because I thought I totally ruined what would be another stream. I already have names lined up too, so the red one I already had splattered with crimson acrylic ink and then painted some alizarin crimson over it just to kind of give it similar depth to this. So I'm going to call that one Diaphanous Earth. It'll have iridescent black and copper veins. And then the stream where I paint on the black one that I thought I broke, I'll call that one Voices from the Void, because it'll have glow-in-the-dark sigils and runes and stuff like that. I'll do that one on stream with a black light so you can actually see the paint as I paint it, because it's fairly transparent. You can't really see on camera until the black light's on it. But yeah, I still can't believe it. I knocked it over and it took me a few minutes to muster up the strength to pick it back up and see what possibly happened. And yeah, it was totally fine. Like, not even a little bit. It's crazy. I think if I didn't paint the black coat on it first, it would have been a different story, but since my little process of painting that coat on to the raw sandy cores saved its life, because seriously, it made such a loud sound. It was late at night too, like I thought I woke the whole house up with how loud of a slapping noise that it made on the tile floor. Yeah, thank goodness. Because that one I was really happy with how the texture turned out. There's like a nice smooth part, and then it deteriorates into rocky stuff. So it kind of gives me a template to fade out the runes and give it a appearance as if it's weathered. So yeah, I'm so glad I didn't have to redo any of that. And it was completely dry. I think that's another thing. It had already been dry for like a week. And if it had happened just maybe 2 days earlier, it totally would have separated and I had to clean up sandy paint from the... Yeah, it would have been so bad. Yeah, literally, the phone analogy is perfect. It's like you don't want to enable the reality of it being broken too soon until you're prepared for it. That would have been so bad. Especially the fact that if it was wet, that would have, like, ruined the tile a little bit too, just because the acrylic paint would have dried quickly after landing on it. So much was avoided. Counting my lucky stars for that one, that's for sure. That was truly, it was the loudest sound I think I've ever heard in this house, though. It was nuts. And I'm also glad I didn't reflexively try to catch it with my foot. Like, so many things could have gone wrong in that moment, but like, it avoided everything. Because in the past, when I've dropped my phone, I've tried to catch it with my foot, and that isn't heavy. It's a lot easier to save a phone with your foot than what would be, I think that one is 12 pounds. It's like 11 or 12, but still, it's like dropping a barbell on your foot if I had stuck my foot under there out of reflex. So bad. But yeah, destiny was on my side that day, that's for sure. Oh yeah, it would have distributed the force differently, and like the frame might have cracked, or like, oh, it could have been so bad. Like the painting breaking is one thing, but if the frame broke, it'd be so hard to get it back stretched out and properly oriented now that like everything's on it. I genuinely might have had to throw it away if it had broken in certain ways. In a big canvas like that is like so not easily replaceable. Oh god, and just the amount of material on that thing could have been so bad. So much money could have been wasted if just 1% of difference in variable would have happened. I feel like it. I still can't believe it. I put it in my journal like, thank God. So much time could have just been thrown in the toilet. It was one of those instances where your shirt catches on something. Sort of like how my shirt catches on a doorknob sometimes. My shirt caught on the corner of that. And it just happened to be leaning in a way where I didn't feel it until it was already teetering. Like, so bad. It's like my karmic debt paid off in that one moment. Thank goodness. Or whatever the opposite of, it might not be karmic debt, it might be the opposite of that, but still, it's, God. It would have cut my foot up, minus the fact that it could have fractured my foot. It would have cut my skin all up, and just, God, I can only imagine. Because there are sharp, like even on this one, it's not like smooth. It's like if I was to take my knuckles and rub it down on this, it would not feel great. Some of those bumps could have just, man, even if it didn't cut me, it could have bruised the hell out of me, or, jeez. getting towards the end of the rose gold road, I think. And then we'll be able to just quickly distribute some deep yellow gold onto here, and then I think this one will be one for the books. I'm excited for the voices from the Void stream. Blacklight and all that stuff. I made a whole separate language card to orient things a little more alien. Oh yeah, the whole stream will be under blacklight, and I'll use my 24 diode floodlight to give us plenty of light on camera. And then it's so cool. I can grab my bottle of glow-in-the-dark paint, and as soon as it hits the blacklight, it lights up like uranium. It's so cool. I tested it on camera, and it's perfect. Lights up like magic. It's a nice super bright green. I found out my blacklight has a nice mount to screw onto one of my tripods too, so I'll be able to angle it and keep it off the surfaces because of how warm it gets. I'll be able to keep it suspended in the air, attached to a metal tripod so that it doesn't get too hot. Because there was a time where I had it on an old desk of mine long ago, and it started to warp the desk because of how warm it gets. I did a nice test with it over yesterday night, and it was on for way more time than what a stream would be, and it didn't get nearly as hot. So it's nice. I definitely don't want any fire hazards. I'm going to try to go as small as possible with that scripture too, because then once the scripture's done, I can splatter some black ink to help fade it into the more rocky part after everything's dry. And then, depending on what happens, I might even cover some of it up, redo some of it, give it as much depth as possible, like maybe even have some glow-in-the-dark appearing to be wedged deeper in to the painting and not as bright compared to some other. I'm going to try to give it as much life as possible that way. I was searching for a name for ages, but then there was a game I saw one of the guys I watch play called Voices of the Void. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I just changed of to from. And it kind of just fit nice and perfect to the sort of overall idea that I wanted to do. That's a creepy game, by the way. It's a nice thing to have on when I'm just kind of working on other stuff. I think it's based in the Source engine. Somebody made it from the ground up. It's like you're a scientist investigating various signals and satellite data, and it's really well done and creepy. As soon as I saw that, I was like, yep, that's what I'm gonna name it. Just change one word and it changes the whole meaning. I could name it Voices of the Void, but then again, it kind of ties into the game and it doesn't quite dictate how Voices from the Void does, just given how the painting will be. I think I'll end up posting a story of advertising the stream, and I'll have the blacklight on. I'll do like a video to show just how fast. It's instantaneous. It looks like uranium. As soon as it hits the spectrum of that light, it's so sick. It's bright enough to light up a room like a flashlight, the whole jar of... Oh, Turkey Tom's good. Yeah, I've heard of him too. I've listened to his stuff as I'm working on things also. Learned a lot of new things that I was unaware of. Like, apparently there's people around who eat raw cornstarch. Man, I could go on and on about the weird stuff I've heard of. Video essays are nice, though. It's a nice thing to also listen to when I'm working on pretty much anything, because you don't have to like watch the video to get the full context and content out of everything they posted. Like, watching it and listening to it like pretty much gives the same experience. There's some odd stuff, that's for sure. It's kind of cool to stay in the loop of what's going on around the various spectrums of the internet, and kind of learning of various communities, and it's really nice. I would suggest this guy if you're gonna look up Voices of the Void, because he has like a ton of videos. It's either this or you can do this. Both of those guys have loads of videos on that game, and they're good too. Like, they're not too much. Just nice, like, mindless content to watch on a late night. Oh yeah, no worries, dude. I appreciate you stopping in, though. It's always fun seeing you pop in here. Super cool always having you part of these streams. But yeah, it definitely sounds like a busy day, so for sure, yeah. And get a good night's sleep. Hope you have a good night, though, dude. I'm sure I'll have this one posted eventually, so... For sure. Cheers, dude. Nice relaxing night today, I gotta say. Appreciate all of you who stop in, even if you say something or not. Totally cool with me. No requirements, pressure, anything here. I'm sure I've said it 100 times by now, but I would stream to 0 people or a whole bunch. It doesn't bother me. So whether you're here for 5 minutes, an hour, 30 minutes, not at all, no problem, truly. I just appreciate seeing faces every so often when they're here, and if it's just me, it's what I do anyway, you know, sitting here painting. If I wasn't streaming, I'd be doing this anyway, you know, so might as well just have the stream on. Just kind of take it easy and kind of make it an extra productive matter. Just sitting here, not really thinking about things too much. It really is something I'm thankful for, to be able to do this and just do streams here and there, go to school, hopefully make something out of that. It's all fun. It's all just a bunch of fun. I wouldn't, whether you're just starting out or have been doing this for a while, I really wouldn't put pressure on yourself, because, you know, if I have anything to say, it's that this sort of artistic endeavor is a very saturated thing that a lot of people are trying to go for, and it's better to not take yourself so serious to where it doesn't become fun anymore. You know, it's one thing to stand for values that matter and bring to light behaviors that aren't helpful to this community. You know, if people like that or not. You know, it doesn't matter if they like the fact that I say gatekeeping is stupid and unnecessary and not the true artist way. You know, I don't care if people get upset about that, because that's just what it is. You know, whether people accept it or not doesn't matter. People can complain all they want, but that doesn't change reality. And I definitely don't care if somebody gets upset. That's why I appreciate my friends so much. Because they have truly a superior-minded perspective and outlook on life, and taking life seriously, but not the kind of serious that, like, is harming others and stuff like that. Because, you know, if you're just doing this for the sake that you love it and stuff like that, like things will just naturally find their way to you, and it's not worth having all this stress over something that isn't gonna like hurt your health or anything. It's not like your health's gonna get hurt if your idea doesn't turn out. I guess I can understand one perspective, like it's stressful to make art and potentially not have it turn out if you don't have the financial means to get materials or things like that, like in somebody not wanting to waste their materials that they don't have much of. Like I can understand that, but I mean, if you have materials to use, like it's truly best to just use them, because if you spend all your time worrying about something not getting made correctly or not turning out exactly what you want, like those materials are just gonna rot. And sure, some art materials don't go bad. Like you can have pencils forever. Or any other thing similar to pencils. Like, that truly will last forever. You could go years without drawing and then get a pencil you bought and make something useful out of it, you know? It'll still work. But on the other hand, I can understand paints. If you don't have a lot of money to get paints, especially with how expensive some of these are, I can understand that. It's completely understandable to be stressed out that you'll put all this effort into something and it'll turn out to be a waste. But at the same time, you know, mistakes define mindfulness. And it's such a shame if you don't take those first steps and like redefine what you want to make and progress forward, you know, a little bit, even if it's just 1%. Like I always tell people, if there's no ideas, then there's practice. And if there's no practice, then there's study. You know, and if there's no study, which to me is very hard to not have anything to study. There's always something to study, especially with the internet and free resources. Nobody should ever feel like they are stuck. Because again, if there's no idea, there's practice. You can always practice just mindless techniques, practice gradients, shapes, perspectives, anything under that umbrella. But if there's no practice because there's no materials to work with, then there's still study. You could still look up things that inspire you and see how they're made and then build from there, or you could do anything similar to that umbrella, which truly has so much to offer that it's hard. You have to truly, I feel like you have to want to not study to not find anything useful, because there's always something, whether it be color theory, how old techniques were, how new techniques are being adapted, how other people are creating something. I can go on and on about how much ability there is to study if you don't have the means to do practice or an idea. But both are also necessary to progress to the point where you can realize an idea you have in your head to exactly how you want it to be. And don't let others tell you what your idea should be. You know, they can say they don't like your idea. That's totally fine. And again, true artists don't get upset if somebody doesn't like their idea. Not every human being is going to like the same thing. So don't go into what you make with the mindset to please somebody or appeal to whether it be a community or somebody who's just not going to appreciate what you do anyway. And it's not from a place of hard feelings or anything like that from their part. It's just preference. And it's how you react to that matters too. If somebody says they don't like your thing, just say okay. You know? You can always say okay, then why are you here? Because that's a valid question. If somebody doesn't like something and they're still here complaining, like why? Why? You know, so you can just, you can just say okay. Because genuinely, who cares? There's almost 9 billion people. That's such a huge number. And sure, not all of them use the internet, but, just think of the perspective of that the world would not be fun if everybody liked the same thing and everyone was the same and everyone had the same preferences and everyone had the same, It just wouldn't... That's not how the universe wants to operate anyway. The universe wants diversity and wants things to intermix and learn from one another and all that. So, like, if somebody comments on something you made, like, oh, like, I could have done that, okay. If somebody says that I don't like your thing, okay. It's one person. One person out of 9 billion should not matter to you that much if they don't like what you're doing for fun. It's one thing if you're behaving in a way that's objectively wrong, which again is not the same thing as somebody just not having the correct values. There's plenty of times where I've said, true artists do not gatekeep. And people get so upset about that. And again, I don't care. I work for the objective good only for the benefit of everyone else. If somebody gets upset because I call out a behavior that's harmful to the greater picture, who cares? They don't matter. It's one person out of 9 billion. Just find somebody else who doesn't suck as much. And again, don't give them the leverage to affect you that hard. Like, nothing is worth an emotional reaction, truly. When it comes to anything that I was just talking about, it's so meaningless if somebody doesn't like what you're doing. When it's not harmful, I should say. As long as what you're doing is not harmful, who cares? And I mean objectively harmful. I don't have personal opinions. I work from the perspective of the universe only. I care only about the grand scheme of everything. Doesn't matter if somebody is not capable of recognizing a detrimental action or perspective. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Like, just discard it and move on. There's so much more, like, beauty and cool attributes and things in life to focus on instead. Like, to give anything that doesn't matter more energy than just okay and moving on when it's so inferior in terms of perspective or opinion. It doesn't matter. Like, if somebody time and time again is incapable of recognizing their detrimental behaviors or perspectives in the adult world, then move on. There's 9 billion others to invest your time into. And the adult world is up to each individual to figure their weird, inferior perspectives out themselves. And again, that goes back to how much I value my friends, because they're not any of those bad things. They're just not. We can have different tastes. We can have different favorites of things. And that is not anything close to what I'm talking about of things being actually, like, hurtful or detrimental. A preference is not the same as something harmful. I mean, unless that preference is, like, objectively harmful to others, but, you know, we're talking about art stuff here. Art, entertainment, media, you know, I mean, like, whatever you want to call it. As long as it's not objectively hurting others. And by hurting others, I don't mean hurting your feelings. It's not the same. I mean actually hurting others on an objective basis. To where it's like actively causing harm to their health. But then again, you know, like, I could go on and on about that. It really comes down to just not being so easily bent around by others who are probably trying to just get a reaction out of you, or something silly like that too. Like, none of us know what these people's intentions are. Like, I've come across people who openly say on the internet that they like upsetting people. And again, if you come across one of those people, just discard them. It doesn't matter. They're probably doing that for a reason anyway. You know, whether it be just like, oh, I have fun at this. Well, cool, I'm gonna have fun discarding you. And then I'm not gonna think about you afterwards. Like, that's how the superior-minded perspective goes. Giving somebody a reaction on something so meaningless is only hurting yourself. Because for all you know, the person who you're reacting to could be sitting behind their screen in the safety of wherever they're at, just laughing. And most people do not deserve the energy of your reactions. You just don't. You know, and it might be hard, sure. I can relate to that years ago. But, you know, truly, I think it's important to, if you don't have art to practice, there's mindfulness to practice. And I could go on and on about that too. You know, it's not worth any hurt on your part if someone doesn't have the preference that you do. It could be something so silly as somebody likes a different movie than you, or somebody doesn't like the same movie as you. Somebody doesn't like the same picture, you know, that's fine. They aren't calling you anything wrong. It's not a personal issue. It's just, hey, somebody has a different favorite. It's like arguing which color of balloon is better. It's like, just like them all. There's better things to put energy into when something so meaningless is being talked about. Like, who cares, you know? Just let people say that they like a purple balloon more than a red one. It's like, it's all fun, you know? In reality, it's easier to just maybe even relax your perspective a bit and appreciate more things instead of being so dead set on saying like, oh, I don't like this. You know, like, you can always evolve yourself to see value in more things. There's plenty of types of music I didn't like in the past, but I learned why, you know? Hey, just another tattooed chick. Welcome, welcome. Hope you had a nice day today. We're just working on Partition of Atlantis. Pretty much at the tail end of our rose gold portion, and I'll take a toothpick and throw in some of this bright, iridescent, deep gold with fine particles in there. Hey, it's good to know. Yeah, I'm doing great too. Had a good day, just kind of working on school first. Then had some time for some exercise, and now we're closing out the night with this. Just kind of taking it easy. It's a nice relaxing type of painting I'm able to focus on for things like this, just given the nature of this idea. It might seem complicated at the beginning, but really the only thing I'm doing is shining an overhead light, looking for the deepest parts of these shadows, and then painting the veins of gold into those. So it really isn't like a complicated nature of the project. We're just kind of hanging out. Glad to know you're doing alright though. This will be, I think, number 5? Painting number 5 in my Ethereal Geology series. So each of these paintings are pretty much between 11 and 15 pounds. It's got sand mixed in from various Arizona landmarks, like this one has South Mountain and Superstition Springs in it. And then after I get all those sandy cores distributed equally so the weight isn't too heavy on either side, I painted over it with blue, splattered some indigo ink on it outside. And now this is the tail end of the creation, getting all these veins of simulated valuable ore and minerals in here. I'm pretty much going to add the gold very sporadically through here on the bigger veins to simulate a sort of oxidization process. And however this slab of rock might have oxidized underwater in whichever world it came from. We're just kind of hanging out. Just kind of listening to something relaxing to tie off the day and keeping the idea simple. Nothing too crazy. There's a book I read that influenced all these paintings from the author Stephen Wolfram. One of his books that I take influence from is Fundamental Theory of Physics. Talks about how everything in the universe is kind of influenced by pressure, nature, the molecular level of things, and then also a new kind of science that sort of graphs out the exact sort of formations and how things are distributed. So a lot of the work done on this before the stream is pretty much getting the sand mixed into the paint and distributing all those various densities across the canvas in a way that looks semi-similar to the rules I follow. And then after all that's painted and sealed is when we can go through and add all these valuable mineral veins and simulated ore type stuff in here. Definitely recommend those books if you like a lot of heavy text-filled reading stuff. There's not a lot of images in those books, but it's a heavy read, that's for sure. Just a nice book to kind of flood your mind with a bunch of information on days where you might not know what to do or something like that. much at the tail end of our rose gold part. I'm just kind of working to use up this paint that I have here first, and then we'll give this a nice rinse out and dry it off, and then move on to our toothpick just to kind of get... I'm not going to go too heavy. I just feel like I'm going to make a mild spread that's balanced across here with the yellow gold. It'll be a lot quicker than this main partition of rose gold. Pretty much just seeing if anything is catching my mind at this point. Catching my attention or what have you. I just want to make sure everything is covered to where nothing is sticking out too heavily. If I miss some veins, that's totally cool. Totally cool with me. This is looking pretty good, I gotta say. Just like I'm hoping it to turn out. I think that what we'll do now... Oh, what was that? Oh. Thought I'm knocking canvases over. I think what we'll do is just kind of accentuate just some of these here. Put some heavy pigment down and make sure these ore veins are properly lit up and oh, there's a good spot for some. Just kind of comes down to how deep the shadow is first and then how much you want it to accumulate. Pretty good. At the end of the day, if the yellow gold doesn't work too, I can always just paint over it. Just put some more rose gold on top, you know, because I'm not going to go past what these veins already are. I'm just going to kind of accentuate some of the big ones. So if it turns out to look gross or too distracting, I'll just alter it back. I also have more of this blue, so you know, I can always erase spots or reconsider. Sort of like what I was talking about earlier, though, if you guys are just starting out and you really want to improve, I genuinely urge to temporarily drop every other hobby you're doing. Because, you know, I can't lie, the nature of this is sort of expensive depending on how you get into it and what you're doing. And, you know, at least from my experience, if I'm trying to practice, it's nice to have my full financial lens pointed just to this, so I can get enough material to not worry about failure or wasting anything, because the mind does have a way of relaxing when there's not a risk of issue. So like if you eliminate all the possibility of whether it be paint loss or anything else similar to that umbrella where it might limit your willingness to try something new or try a technique you're not familiar with, it's a lot easier to commit if you don't have a limited scope on things. It's still possible, for sure, but it's, you know, I feel like that's just how the subconscious works. We all want self-preservation, and we all want things to be in a way that's not wasteful and I don't know, like just similar things to that nature. We all don't want to waste what we've worked to earn and what we have, but you know, practice does require some bit of commitment and risk if you really want to improve, you know what I mean? Because like you can still practice base level techniques and you know, anything like that, where it's just practice and see how you do and then try again, and brute forcing things that way. But you know, if you have an idea that goes on a canvas and you try it once and it doesn't work and then you paint over it, painting over it requires more paint than the project might have. So there is an inherent nature of needing to use certain bits of material just regardless of what the idea is, because, you know, like I said, if you're painting over a mistake or completely resetting the canvas and painting over everything you just did to try it again, or, you know, altering a big part of it by painting over it, trying again, like all of that requires the use of material and some sort of risk. So I truly urge, like, if you want to try this, stop everything else you're doing, you know, because a lot of people might still be buying video games or going out drinking or, you know, smoking, whether it be THC or nicotine or any sort of activity, you know, going to bars and paying cover charges. All that costs money, and if you want to help ease the fear of failure with art, like, you'd want to invest that money into your art instead, at least for a little bit, you know, because like for me now, I don't have a lot of those fears that I did, you know, even just a year or two ago, because it's all very like exponentially growthful in a lot of ways. Like, the more you do stuff, the less fear you have, and then the more successful things will become, and things just compound like that. So it's, yeah, it's just like one of those things, like, it will take some sort of investment to see, even if you want to do it or not. And, you know, it all just circles back to what I was saying. Like, you're gonna have to commit some way financially, just even in your trial period. I guess that makes sense. I hope I'm not rambling too much. Just like the nature of everything, you know, we won't know that we like a hobby until we do it enough anyway. You know, judging yourself on day one is also not a very feasible approach, because everyone has to have their first step at some point. So truly try not to compare yourself, which, you know, again is natural for some, but don't worry too much, because I don't know, at least in my imagination of things, I imagine all these old true masters and remembered artists, the ones who are really about it will not judge you to any extent, no matter what level you're at. You know, a lot of people who make stuff, myself included, will just happily sit and observe what you're doing, and then if you have questions about something, then we'll come in and, you know, provide guidance or whatever. But we won't just shit on an idea or criticize an idea, because who are any of us to know what your idea was meant to be in the first place? So, like, I can't judge something that isn't directly asked of me, because again, like, I don't know what you originally set out to do, and I don't know if somebody wants feedback or not anyway. Like, another perspective is most people who are making stuff are already their biggest critics, and they most likely already know what they don't like about their painting. So unless somebody asks, it's better to just appreciate what they did in the first place. There's a lot less drama and weird energies and stuff like that when we're all just here to mutually uplift one another when somebody is asking for it. Because again, most people who are making stuff already are looking at their painting from like 9 different angles and perspectives, and somebody might see a brush stroke that looks weird and they already noticed that. So unless somebody asks, it's much better to just say what they did well instead. It's better to praise what they did well, and then if somebody asks is when you try your best, to the best of your knowledge, to provide guidance or direction on something to study or some kind of practice. But the big takeaway is wait until somebody asks. Because again, art, any sort of art, dance, whatever, is innately difficult. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say that, oh, everything's so easy and blah 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 blah. Because not everything's easy. You know, even these paintings being straightforward with shining a light and just following the shadows, like, it still takes that first step to get a feel for it. And then it becomes like, oh, I get it now. This is A, B, and C, you know, like I could do this or that. But yeah, it just... it's worth taking art seriously, but not serious in terms of like making it not fun for others. And none of this applies to AI though. Like if you're using modern AI from, you know, the time that you're watching this, the exact date of recording, that I just don't agree with that. There's people with disabilities who do everything I'm doing, and there's really no excuse to use lazy programs like that. It's better to make quote unquote something bad, which I don't even consider things to be bad. Like beginner art, I see myself in a lot of stuff that I see that's deemed beginner, quote unquote. But it's not bad. None of it's bad. And real artists will not tell you that. Those perspectives just don't exist in the minds of people who are really about this and in it for everyone. But just use your hands for it. And again, if you don't have hands, there's plenty of people who use their feet, and people use their mouth if they don't have legs. So like, there's ways the human mind can work around these things. To jump straight into AI and think it's fine, I don't agree with, and the universe doesn't either. And I don't care if somebody disagrees, because they're just wrong. But just use your hands. Train the hands, take the initiative, and go from there. Hey, welcome in. Hope you had a good day today. Hello, hello. Greetings. Greetings, greetings. I have such a huge passion for this. That's why I am so adamant that people use their hands to create stuff, just because it's so much more fulfilling, and you'll find so much more meaning and value behind it innately, like especially if you're someone like how I was years ago, where you're just feeling lost and you're not sure, you know, you're not sure where you stand in the world and in life. Like, it's so freeing to have something that you made with your hands that gets to hang on your wall or sit being made along with your other creations, or any sort of thing like that. It's so... people who use AI are missing out, I guess, is why I say that. Because AI is just a product. It's not fulfilling to have something just blasted out as a result. And then you're like, oh, cool. Like, you know, it's not about consuming media. This goes far beyond that. There's plenty of media in the world already. Like, if you want to consume media, just watch a movie or TV. Like, you don't need to generate all these images just to, like, supplement a need for media consumption. And there's already, like, so much of it that other, you know, people are making. You can watch stuff that people make, and it's so much cooler. Like, all this Mid-Journey stuff and all this Chat GPT and all this lame, super lame technology that's coming out. Like, we could funnel all that energy and resource into something that matters, you know? And people are so fast to say, oh, but like, it could help people with disabilities. People with disabilities do what I'm doing. So there's no real excuse. People are just moving the argument around just to, like, supplement their own inadequacy. And again, if you don't have materials for art supplies, go download a free digital program. It's unlimited pixels of paint. You can literally do whatever you want and practice the same thing that people do with their hands. You know, albeit it's with a mouse, and a mouse is sometimes awkward, but you can still do it. I don't see any reason why anybody would be incapable of using a mouse to do what I do. I mean, hell, I used to do it before I had my Intuos Art tablet, which is just a blank black tablet that is essentially my mouse in a pen. Like, it doesn't have a screen, but I mean, I used a mouse for years, and that's just how it is. And if you don't want to use a mouse, just find a pencil. Pencils are so, like, available to people. Like, there's... you could probably find a pencil for free. Like, just go steal one from a airport or something, you know? Pencils are a dime a dozen. There's no real, like, barrier of entry for something like that. I can understand if your computer can't run this program or that program, but I mean, you know, again, just take a pencil from somewhere. If you know there's a lot of pencils in your area, nobody's gonna miss it. It's just a pencil. Like, truly, I say all this because I feel that people are missing out. And there's a lot of, like, lost souls around who don't know what they want to do in life or what have you, that really I feel like could benefit if they learned a skill to make something that will be permanent in reality. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of something I ramble about. It's not that serious. If people use AI to make funny images and we're just all having fun with it, like, that doesn't matter. It's when people try to monetize it and say, oh, look at my portfolio. Like, you're dishonoring everybody who put real work in, real effort, just because somebody's lazy and wants to spend more energy arguing and, like, making up points to argue about when they could just spend that energy to learn the skill. Like, just, it truly is just like laziness. that comes from the generation that I live in. By generation, I mean the year, month and year that this is posted. You know, if you're watching this 5 years or 10 years in the future, things might be a lot different, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but it just really is one of those things where I look at some people and just think like how much happier they might be if they learned just something like this. Even if you just make a gradient, like if you make a gradient with a pencil, that's already far beyond what most people do. It takes effort, you know, there's practice in holding the pencil in a way that varies pressure and getting used to your hand dynamics, but I mean, it's not hard. There are things that are hard, and I'll never lie to people about them being hard. But just because they're hard doesn't mean it's impossible. It really comes down to if you really want to do it or not. Like, it's not impossible if it's necessary. If it's necessary, you'll figure out a way, just like I have. And people putting in all this mental energy to, like, argue their laziness could take a fraction of it and just, like, learn the skill, you know? Because, again, it's really not hard. It's just time is the only thing standing in your way, if you really think about it. It's like, how much time do you have? Well, A, how much time do you have? And B, how much time are you willing to put into it? Because people are busy, you know, I'm not going to lie about that, and that's fine. I genuinely respect people who work so much more than I do, objectively. Like, there's things I've never done in my life that people are doing that I think are insanely impressive and physically taxing, and, you know, like, a lot of people just might not have energy to make art, but that's where you have to be real with yourself and say, like, hey, maybe art is not for me right now. Art is not a thing that you should put too much pressure on yourself with. And again, you can pick up a pencil and just do one exercise, and that's good enough, you know? Most people don't even do that in a day. And if you made a gradient, or if you made a circle, practiced a handful of circles, that's already a big step. You know, again, people who are real artists, and this has nothing to do with me. I'm not the one who tells others what to think of me. But people who are real artists will not shit on you for anything, really. Like, being a beginner is not hurting anybody. And anything that's not hurting anybody is not something to get upset about. And, the ones who are really in this for the right reasons will help you, will do so much if you, again, just ask. Because a lot of people will not just unsolicitedly give advice, because it is kind of tacky. It's kind of like an ego thing to give unsolicited advice in a comment section. Like, here on the stream is different because I'm streaming. But, so many people will gladly, the ones who are the real ones, will gladly help you out if you have a question that you ask them. It really is a gift to know the real artists and just keep up with them. And, if you participate and you show mutual support, like, a lot of people will do it right back with no issue. And don't put intentions into other people's lives either. Don't say people are trying to take advantage of me. Don't assume that people are trying to take advantage of you when everyone is in the game for the same reasons anyway. You know, we all want to be noticed and recognized and just normal human things. That doesn't mean they're using you. We're all just trying to have fun. Plenty of people ask how I do these paintings, my drawings, 3D printing, and explaining a technique or showing them how you do something does not harm you. Like, they still have to put effort in to make something that's appealing. You know, like, I'm trying not to ramble too much, but it's all something I believe to be very true. Every person has the desire to succeed, but that doesn't mean their intentions are not pure. Like, if they're just trying to learn, like, who is somebody to say that they're being used? If somebody's just asking a question to get themselves out of a rut or help boost them past a hurdle they have, just, I don't know, like, everything is not online either. There are techniques that are more just like around in the space. So not everything is able to be found online. There are things that people are going to ask, and that's fine. You know, if somebody asks how I make this painting, like, just tell them. You know, like, it's not gonna alter the playing field when everyone's already in a field of art that's very saturated. It's a lot more than just like, oh, my technique is so good, I can't share it. Like, yeah, you can, because it goes way further than just your techniques as to how likely you are that you're going to get picked up by, whether it be a collector or a big guild of some sort or just any sort of community. Like, it's all the same playing field. And acting like you have to keep this secret is just pretty embarrassing, honestly, to think that somebody has such a unique technique or something like it. What makes an artist unique goes so far beyond that those who hide what they've learned for others are just insecure, and they're not in this space for the correct reasons. And again, I don't care if people get upset at that. That's just what it is. Like, I urge people who get upset at what I'm saying to take a moment to evolve their mind instead of having such an inferior perspective. Like, it doesn't matter what reasoning you can drum up or brew in your cauldron to try to justify a behavior that's not okay. It's still just not okay. And if people are as smart as they probably think they are, they will adapt and realize that, like, being greedy and weird and, like, shady with what they've learned and acting like they have discovered something that's most likely been done anyway, especially in this day and age, like, we're so far into the modern era, like, things just aren't really secrets anymore. I've never seen a single artist who's, like, made something groundbreaking nowadays. Everything is inspired by something else. It just comes down to the idea, and how they execute it is what makes it unique, because once an idea is completed, it's hard to 100% replicate what somebody's done. Even if you're doing the same study, like, not every grain of graphite or stroke of paint is going to be the exact same. Unless you do a mathematically set up grid and, like, do pattern work and everyone's following the same measurements. Like, things that are outside of math-related ideas are extremely difficult to recreate. Like, it just goes down to taking an anatomy class. Not everyone is going to draw the model the same, even if they're sitting right next to each other. They're just not. And it's unrealistic to think, even with my paintings, it's unrealistic to think that I've done something, you know, groundbreaking or something that needs to be hidden. Because what does hiding it do besides just make me look weird? When we're all in it to, like, mutually uplift each other and, you know, like, it's understandable if you're trying to make money, but, like, we all are. It's like to hide something that's general behind a paywall, or to not tell somebody, is just really awkward. Because then you're like, oh, like, okay, like, I don't want to interact with you again. It's like, why would I interact with somebody who's, like, so insecure about somebody potentially having a good life before them? Like, who cares? We all want to have good lives. We all want the same thing. You know, we all want our loved ones to be okay and to be taken care of and to have a life that doesn't have struggles or worries in it, but it doesn't mean we gotta be all weird and at each other's throats in, like, a sort of race that doesn't exist. Like, nobody's giving out medals for new techniques. Like, all these art competitions are idea-based in a big grouping of everything somebody learned together. It's not just like, oh, you learned how to mix sand and mediums together inside paint, and, like, good for you. Like, they don't do that. The idea itself could be cool, but most likely your techniques are not new. Like, humans have been around so long, to act like you've been the first one, quote unquote, is so silly. Super whack. And people will say I have ego because I'm saying all these things, but it's not. Like, it's just them not understanding. It has nothing to do with me being better or me being more of an authority. Like, none of that. There's always a bigger fish. There's not... Like, for all I know, even the greatest masters on the planet could be outmatched by somebody in a country that doesn't have technology for them to get themselves out there. Some unknown person who's just doing this for the same reason I am could be miles better than some of the greatest artists around, and nobody would even know. So there's no reason to create all this weird, like, unneeded energy over what is really nothing. If you're part of a competition, then sure, keep your idea a secret until you make it and get it out there. But then, if you win, and someone has a question like, oh, you made that, how did you start this, or what technique did you use to get this moving? Like, just tell them, like, who cares? You're still going to be able to practice and improve at your own rate. They're going to practice and improve at their own rate. Like, you're not selling yourself short just because you want to help somebody. It's kind of fun, honestly. There's been plenty of times where I've seen people putting things behind paywalls. I've seen things in the comments of people asking, and they're just trying to get their money. And I'll just happily either tell them if I know, or pay for their course and put it online for free anyway. Because, again, I don't care if somebody gets upset. Your technique is not unique. it's not. Your process to creating a painting may be a little bit. But again, how do you know that somebody in the deepest, most innermost regions of Africa is not doing what you're already doing? Just not able to get themselves out there. So it's just, yeah, it's just not worth exiling yourself as somebody who's like super insecure and weird, just for the fact that you want to protect like a meaningless technique or something. Like, if your technique is that good, wouldn't you want to be the person who is known for helping others get good at it? Like, for all you know, that could be the exact thing that puts you on the map, is being an open and willing teacher to those who are curious. And just because of some type of ego or like insecurity, they're missing out. And the reality is they could be potentially missing their big break just because they want to hold something that doesn't have value in the first place over somebody else. What has value is how you are, how honest you are, your integrity. And as long as you're creating it with your own hands, you know, it's all that matters. It doesn't matter how good it is, it's just the fact you put effort into it. Like real effort though, don't just say you did. Like, just actually do what you say you're doing. Don't try to lie to somebody or do something wrong. And again, we're all just in it for the same goal, to have fun and maybe get our loved ones to a place that is good. I guess that's my little thought experiment for today. Just had a lot on my mind regarding that. People love to call others wrong and dumb and this and that just because you're willing to share things that they're not, but you know, again, plenty of people are wrong all the time. Doesn't mean you are. The ones who are wrong are typically the rudest anyway. It's one thing to be rude when you're going against a bad behavior. Like, you don't have to sit there and take something just for this fact of self-serving and like walking yourself around like an advertisement. As long as you're for the objective good, like, it doesn't matter. But plenty of people will not like you if you stand for truly the good things in life, and that's fine. It all ties back to what I said earlier. There's almost 9 billion people in this world of ours. Not every single one of them needs to matter to you. Especially if they're acting rude. Just because they want to defend like a bad behavior that they're unwilling to smarten up about. Like, there's so much more that's worth putting energy into. Better to build that community off of openness and willingness to work together and everything under that umbrella of things, rather than being this lone, weird, hurtfully weird, not the good type of weird that everyone should accentuate on their own. Like, the hurtful type of weird is what I'm talking about. It's just not worth like harming the energy of the space just because somebody wants to act insecure. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my thoughts on things. I think the art space as a whole is very good. You just gotta weed out the worthless perspective ones in the midst of things. Because, you know, in any space there's gonna be a bunch of dweebs who can't get it through thick heads how to properly act and, you know, this or that. I don't really care what their reason for acting wrong is. Like, just get it figured out. It's like in the adult world, it's your responsibility only to not be a hurtful loser. It's one thing if you're struggling mentally like we all have, but like don't bring that onto others just for the sake of your own laziness. Pretty sure we're close to finishing this though. Appreciate those who are kind of listening to all that. I'm glad there was interest in my little thought train that was going on there. We're pretty much at the end though. I'm just kind of tying up some areas that can be faded together. Yeah, I mean, if anything, you know, just kind of take away from what I said that you're going to have a much more fun time if you're just open and in this space for the right reasons and not filling in the blanks of people's intentions when you don't even know these people. Like somebody randomly on the internet could reach out right now to me and ask how I did this, and I will, without hesitation, tell them the moment I'm able to. Even if I read their message and can't respond right away, I'll get to it. So why can't you? You know, there's no true reason as to why you should hide something in the art space from somebody. Same thing with materials. If somebody asks what kind of paint I use, golden fluid and Liquitex. If somebody asks tools, I say, you know, you can find it here on Amazon or 3D printed or, you know, what have you. Whatever the true answer is, just tell them and be a presence for the fun of things and the mutual uplifting of everyone, rather than being such a weird presence in the space that just pushes people out of it or away. You know, a lot of artists will just find somebody else who isn't stupid to help them instead if somebody's going to be such a gatekeeper. But, you know, I mean, it's all just kind of finding the right ones and then doing the proper study and the proper efforts, and then, you know, once you do it just for a little bit, you realize just how, like, easy it truly is. A lot of people will also give you false statements saying, like, oh, this is so difficult, you'll have a hard time, or like, oh, like, whatever they might say. But again, it's not true. They're just, if somebody tells you something's hard, pay attention to what angle that is coming from. If they're telling you it's hard in the sense that, like, oh yeah, you can still do it, but it'll take time, just like it has for me, that's one thing. But if they just say, oh, it's hard, and they don't provide any context or, like, information to kind of help you understand why, then that's a gatekeeper just waiting to happen. Like, you know, if I have time to teach people who ask me questions with the variables of my life, it's very likely you have more time to do it than I do. That's just the fact of the matter is. Like I always tell people, if you have time for video games, and you're doing art, and you're playing video games first before, you know, helping uplift somebody, like your priorities just aren't in the right place. It's just a fact of the matter. Like, again, it doesn't matter if somebody agrees or not. It's just what it is. It's way more fun when everyone's like a collective. I want to use the word cult, but that's not a good word because cults are just notoriously not good. But just a collective group of people who want the same things for each other. It doesn't matter who succeeds first when multiple people could probably succeed all at the same time. Pillar of success is not reserved for just one person. Especially in our world. Think of how many celebrities there are. It's like it's not just one person. Thinking this is pretty good. I can't really place my mind on really much else. I only see like a few areas that could maybe benefit. There's one. Nice little vein here that kind of doesn't stand out enough. People have asked me too, how do I get such random fine markings like this? And every time it's just like, oh, toothpick. Simple as that. And then people know what to do and probably can have fun with it. You know, it doesn't hurt me. I still have the ideas I have. It's not like I'm spoiling ideas. I like to post ideas and then people can see them. You know, and then if somebody wants to do a similar idea, then go for it. You can have your ideas, and then once you post them, then you can, you know, share stuff and make it unique and uplifting at the same time. I can understand if you want to keep like a significant idea, you know, under wraps until it's finished or something like that, but it doesn't mean you have to keep the technique under wraps. You can say like, oh, I'm doing a painting with sand mixed into the medium. Or something like that, and not completely give away the surprise preemptively. And then once you post it, you can be like, oh, okay, now I can teach and explain the work and make it a fun space. it's really just a fine balance, and you got to think about it. It's not just an innate thing. It's not an innate feeling or something like that. Like everything takes effort to get used to it, and you know, whatever else. I'm not even sure if people will enjoy the little trains of thought I have here. I'm not sure if people would prefer me to just shut the hell up. But hey, either way, you know, again, feedback is always welcome in terms of what would make watching these more fun. Yeah, it all just circles back to it's a process of realization with these things. You know, I don't know everything that I've exposed to in life except the things that I've worked with. Even then, I might not know one technique that I'm missing out on. But there's plenty of things I'm not familiar with at all. I'm not going to act like I am. I don't know much of shit about vehicle repair or automotive engineering or things like that, but I mean, you know, I'm not going to act like I do. I'm always willing to learn, but it's always a process too of be willing to admit if you know something or not, and are able to teach it or not. And if you aren't able to teach it, you can direct them to a better source, which again is not bad. If you direct them to a source, then they might discover something that really makes them happy. And then, you know, that's great. Not everything has to be a move that is uplifting your success potential. Driving yourself into a wall just to try to get success is not gonna make you feel good. You know, it's just not. Take a step back from this. Immediately notice something. Take another step back. Yeah, I think we're okay. I think I'm gonna call it. Pretty much I'll just use up what's on here. We're gonna call it. I can always work on these for way too long. I'm trying to get used to being okay when the project hit the mark of what I'm trying to set out for. I don't want to perfection myself into the ground. Yeah, I think that's a cool balance. Nice balance of rose gold and regular gold. You know, I was talking about splattering some iridescent ink on here, but I don't think I will. I think this is good enough. Yeah, I'm liking this. This is a good spot. I can always stare at it for a couple days and maybe add a bit of paint here and there, but yeah, it's not really something to stress myself out over. I achieved what I'm... Oh, there is one. There is one little vein here that didn't get it. And then there's one up here. Those are the only elements that are sticking out, are these. I think everything else will be able to settle. Yeah, I just don't want any big sticking out areas. Put a little more like that. Yeah, that's better. Just using this paint up so we don't waste too much. Yeah, that's fine. We'll call it there. Because we have areas that are bright. We have areas that are bright with the rose gold. And then my eye isn't really drawn to too much. It's like we have a nice concentration of rose gold down here and then more of a concentration of gold up there. And then they both kind of even themselves out. Like one fades up this way and one fades up this way. I think that's a good balance of things. Yeah, I'm out of paint now, so I'm going to force myself to stop. Give it an overnight feel, and then we can always either call it completed, put the Gorilla Glue epoxy on the joints after it's all done, and then move on from there, or we can always add more. But I think this stream has gone on a very, very long time. Might even be my longest one. Just considering the nature of everything we just did today. This is essentially 2 rock paintings in one, because I haven't really done a 2-tone sort of ore before. Yeah, I think this is cool. I'll give you guys a nice front view of it, and then we'll call it a day for today. I'm very tired. I'll get these put just off to the side right here. Get prepared to move you guys in front. We're back. Let's get my chair moved a little bit, and then here's the damage for the day on here. Bunch of iridescent stuff left on what was originally black. But let's give you guys a frontal. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's looking nice on camera too. So it's all around very successful stream for today. But yeah, I think I call it here. I'll post stories and stuff if I end up making little modifications, but it's unlikely. I got a lot of other fun things to do. This is a pretty satisfactory result. But yeah, I appreciate you guys being here. I'll be around again. Hope you all have a good night. Cheers.